and welcome to my channel. My name is Rachel. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if it's not your first time here, thanks for coming back. So today, I am going to be doing my roughly monthly palette ranking. I like to do this sort of style of review video when I've tested enough palettes enough times to give my final thoughts on them. So this month's palette ranking was the hardest one yet. I'm not going to lie. I had a really hard time ranking these palettes. They're all so good, truthfully. I do a separate video for other things that I've tested throughout the month, things that aren't eyeshadow palettes, all the other things that we put on our face. In a separate video, I did just upload that video before this video. I will link that one down below in the description box, but let's get to the palette ranking. Now, of course, I hope this goes without being said, but I guess I'm gonna say it anyway. These palettes are ranked on my preference. These are just my opinions. And if I'm putting your favorite palette at the very last spot, that's totally okay. We just have different preferences. We're different people. If you do enjoy ranking videos, please give this a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe before you leave if you enjoy makeup content. Okay, I have 7 palettes to rank. So we're gonna start off with number 7. Now, I will say number 7 is a palette that I like. It's not a bad palette, just something had to be last. ColourPop Witching Hour palette. This was their second palette that they did in collaboration with Hocus Pocus that came out last year, but I recently unboxed a few ColourPop mystery boxes, and this was the palette that I got in one of the boxes. First of all, the packaging is absolutely adorable with the 3 witches on them. I will say this IP doesn't super duper call to me. I'm not a huge Hocus Pocus fan. I like the movie, but it wasn't a movie that I really watched a lot as a kid. I don't have a lot of nostalgia attached to it in my mind. The packaging is weighted. It feels really nice. I love all the details. And I actually really like the color story. I had heard when this came out, people were saying, it's not that great of a palette. They didn't love it. And I can kind of see where they're coming from now. At the time when I opened it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really cute. What are people talking about? Well, let me tell you, at least what I think. I really, really like the neutrals in this. Both the mattes and the metallics. The neutrals are really, really nice. I think actually all of the mattes are really nice. They're pigmented yet blendable. They're not super dusty. They don't just flounce away. They don't just blend away. These 3 metallics, the more neutral ones, are really nice actually. It's these 2 metallics I don't love, especially the purple one. It's very dry. It's more on the, I would say satin side, and then Circle of Salt as well. It's a little creamier than that purple one, but I would say overall, it's not my favorite. Yeah, they're not my favorite metallics. Definitely not compared to the other metallics in the palette, and they're quite dark. So I'm not a huge fan of dark metallics. I kind of wish that they were slightly lighter and that they were creamier and sparklier. Other than those 2 metallic shades, I think this palette is quite nice, actually. I don't think it's a bad palette at all. And so it's just the least exciting and least, I was gonna say the least best. That made no sense. It's just not the one that I loved the most this month. From here on out, this palette ranking was incredibly difficult because all of the rest of the palettes that I tried, I really, really, really like a lot. I had to really kind of find things wrong with these palettes to justify the ranking. So just know that these are all would be considered a top 5, but of course we gotta go to number 6. That made no sense either. What is wrong with me today? So coming in at number 6, I have the Adept Cosmetics Amunet, and this is the light version. They have a light version and a dark version, and this is a re-release palette. If I'm not mistaken, I think they reformulated. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have the old version. I just bought the new one a couple months ago. So color story wise, I think this is gorgeous. I think it's so interesting. It's grungy. It's a little more on the cool tone side. It's very fall to me. I love the color story. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I love Adept metallics. I did buy the Heather Austin palette before I bought this one, and that kind of influenced me to purchase this one. Now, I will say the Heather Austin palette The metallics in that are a lot more on the creamy, almost like cream shadow, very, 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 very emollient side. These ones are still really creamy, but they're not quite as emollient and quite as creamy as those ones. Now, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'm just kind of letting you know the difference if you have the Heather Austin one. And then I think it's really nice and interesting that the different metallics in here, there's quite a few different formulas. Like, they're not all super sparkly, super impactful. There are different kinds of finishes. So these two on, like, when you look at them in person, just straight on, they look white, but they're completely different. Like, when I got it, I was like, oh, I don't know why they would need to put both of these, but I'm not even sure that you're going to be able to see it. But one of them is a straight up green blue shift, and one of them is a like gold pink shift. And they're just these like more iridescent multi-chromes. They're absolutely stunningly beautiful. Hopefully you can see it in the swatches. It's kind of hard to see just probably on camera. Anyway, and then some of these are like super, super sparkly, impactful, like this one. I can't pronounce these names, but this one over here. But then there are some that are less sparkly, but very metallic, just different textures, which I really like. I think the only reason I'm putting this at number 6 is the mattes. They're fine, they're lightly pigmented. So this is the deepest matte, and I don't really ever feel like it gets to look exactly like that. And then these other formats come off just very, very light. Now, I did buy the light version, and I think in the dark version, this shade Seth is swapped out for a blue. So if you are looking for more of a deeper version, you might like that one. Overall, this has been an absolutely beautiful palette though. 100% love the metallics, just the mattes are not my favorite. Okay, coming in at number 5, I have the Batty Bean and Shroud Hallow Bean palette. Once again, this palette is absolutely gorgeous. There is no real reason that it's gotta be at number 5. It's just something had to be at number 5. So this was a palette that they released in, I think, the end of August or beginning of September for the Halloween season approaching, the spooky season approaching. I think it is totally reminiscent of Halloween, but it's also a palette that you could use not just on Halloween. You could use it year-round. If you know me, you know I love orange, so I love these orange shimmers. I love this multi-chrome Afterlife. It is so gorgeous. And I also did a all green look with these shades, and I loved how it looked. I just used the matte greens, and I popped Ghoulish in my inner corner, and I loved how it looked. It was so gorgeous. The formula of both the mattes and the metallics are spectacular. There's absolutely nothing wrong with this palette. There's nothing wrong I can say. Probably the only thing is this shade Black Flame. I don't see myself getting a lot of use out of because it is such a dark metallic, but other than that, this is a gorgeous palette. I just kind of liked everything else a little bit more. Coming in at number 4, I'm kind of surprised this is coming in so low, but I just tried out so many amazing things lately. So this is the Blend Body Cosmetics All Done Up palette. Now, again, low, it's not really low because this is a spectacular palette as well. I'm absolutely in love with Blend Bunny's matte formula. It is one of my most favorite matte formulas, if not my favorite matte formula, although I did try another palette this month where the matte formula is neck and neck with my favorite matte formula now. We'll get to that in a second, don't you worry. So when I saw that she was coming out with a more neutral leaning palette, I was so stoked because I love neutrals. I am a neutral gal at heart. It is my favorite thing to wear is like neutrals or like neutrals with a twist. And I feel like this is neutrals with a twist. You can definitely get a neutral look, but you can also get colorful looks. You've got more cool tone smoky, you've got a green row, you've got a mustardy row, you've got a pinky warm row, and then a true neutral row. And I think she lays out her palettes perfectly. You can use columns, you can mix and match. It's good for the person like me who sometimes I don't know what to do with my makeup sometimes. So this lays it out for you. And I like these metallics so much more than any metallics that she's released lately. I think that they're much more on the sparkly side. They're more mid-tone to light, which is what I prefer. The only reason I would say that I'm putting this at number 4 over the other things is I like the other things a little bit more. And these metallics for me, and maybe it's just me because I've watched several reviews on this palette and nobody that I've seen has mentioned this besides me, is that I think these metallics are a little on the messy side. They are quite sparkly. I did have fallout So I would suggest using a glitter primer or wetting your brush. And then if you can, do your eyes first so that you can clean up any of the glittery fallout. But other than that, this is a great palette. Absolutely love it. Love it. I just love it. By the way, I wanted to say these are all palettes that are new to me. So they might not be new to the market, like the Amunet one has been around for a while, but it was just new to me. All right, this next palette was a bit of a sleeper, I'm not gonna lie. It was not one that I really expected to love as much as I do, but I do. This is the Teresa is Lethal palette from Lethal Cosmetics and Teresa is Dead. First of all, packaging, 10 out of 10. It feels weighted, it feels sturdy. I love all the outer spaceness going on. Really well done on the packaging. This is my first time trying Lethal Cosmetics, and I'm thoroughly impressed, and I'm very much looking forward to whatever they come out with in the future, because the formula on the shades, both the mattes and the metallics, are so good. These mattes are so easy to blend. They are really, really beautiful. They are buildable. And I would say the thing I love most about this palette are these two metallics, Space Trash and TV Dinner. These two metallics, they have some sort of chokehold on me. Let's talk about Space Trash. I am not a blue girl. I'm not a blue girl. I don't really like to wear blue eyeshadow, but this blue is so beautiful, multi-dimensional. There is like a pink reflect in it. It just looks so frosty, and I feel like I am 15 again in the year 2001. Like I'm ready to go choreograph a dance to Britney Spears in my friend's basement. That's how that makes me feel. And then this one that is called TV Dinner, which is the most beautiful silver I think I have ever seen in my life. It's opaque, it's glittery, but it doesn't cause a whole ton of fallout. This all over the lid is just like, it's the moment. You know what I mean? It's gorgeous. I love it. These two metallics really like make this palette for me. It makes it so fun and interesting. But like I said, the mattes are also really, really nice too. She's got a good variety of colorful and neutral mattes in here. They blend themselves. They're great. Highly recommend this palette. I did not expect to love this one as much as I did. All right, coming in at number 2. This palette was very much hyped. And when things are really hyped, I am skeptical. I'm never sure if it's really gonna live up to the hype, but this one exceeded my expectations. This is the Cosmic Brushes Serenity palette. This is what I'm wearing on my eyes today. I cannot get over the formula of this palette. It is unbelievable. It is incredible. These mattes, this is the palette I was talking about that I think the mattes come pretty darn close, if not, dare I say, if not better in my opinion than the Blend Bunny mattes. These are so freaking pigmented, but they blend themselves. Literally, like you just need to pack them on, do a couple little brush strokes, and they're blended out, and they're colorful, which to me is pretty difficult to find. You've got light to deep, you've got all different tones. You can make a neutral look, you can make a colorful look. I did go to a dance competition. I do teach ballroom dancing if you didn't know that, if you're new here. And I did dance at a competition recently. I brought this to wear on the floor, and I created one of my favorite looks I think I've ever created ever in my life. The metallics in this are also absolutely gorgeous. They are really sparkly, really metallic, but they're not chunky, they're not textured, they're really smooth, they're beautiful. I'm obsessed with this palette. If they come out with another palette, I don't care what the color story is, I'm going to buy it. And if they came out with a neutral palette, I think I would that would be it. I wouldn't have to buy any other palette for the rest of my life. That is a lie.
It was all a lie. Guys, it was all a lie. She lied.
But honestly, if you've been thinking about this palette, you would not be disappointed in the quality because it is absolutely unbelievable, top-notch quality. I love it. Okay, and then the number 1 palette I tried this month. Can I get a drum roll, please? This palette I expected to love. And I am very, 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 very late to the game. I am the last person on earth to try this palette, I know, but I cannot stop using it. And when I started using it, I had to literally force myself to stop using this palette. It is the Tiny Marvels palette from Sydney Grace and Mel Thompson. They did something absolutely beautiful with this palette. I mean, it is stunning, both color story wise as well as formula wise. The mattes are just blendable, so easy to use. These metallics are so metallic, almost like a cream shadow, so smooth. I created such beautiful looks. I did create a look that I wore in a video, a Walmart try-on video, which I feel like my audiences are quite different between my makeup videos and my Walmart videos, although there are people that watch both of them. All of that to say, I don't know how many like super makeup lovers watch my Walmart videos, and I have never had so many compliments on my eyeshadow ever than when I used this palette. I used Scarab all over the lid, and I used Spider as well as Mantis to make it more green brown, and I've never had so many compliments on my makeup than when I wore that look. Every time I wore this, I loved how my eye makeup came out. It was a joy to use. I was not a subscriber of Mel Thompson, to be honest, before her passing. Not because I don't like her or anything like that, of course not. I just didn't really know about her. I was really following like very big creators at that time and not branching out and not really following other people, or really, I don't know, whatever the reason was. I didn't know about her, and I have now started watching her channel, and she seemed like an absolutely beautiful, wonderful person. And so I love that I have a piece of her to use, and I think of her every time I use this. And yeah, she did a beautiful job making this palette, and this was my first time using Sydney Grace. And again, I will absolutely be buying whatever future palettes that they come out with, because I've been 120,000% impressed with this palette. This palette was a subscriber gift, by the way, from Renee. Thank you so much, Renee, for gifting me this. I absolutely love it. You weren't wrong about it. And all the other palettes that I mentioned, I did purchase myself. And that is it for this palette ranking. I hope you enjoyed it. This was a hard one because these palettes were so good. And yeah, I really loved all of the palettes that I used this month. If I have any corresponding videos using these palettes, I will link them down below in the description box with the palette linked as well. Please leave me a comment down below letting me know your thoughts on these palettes. Have you used them? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with my rankings? Do you agree with what I said, or do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love for you to subscribe before you leave. I do upload videos weekly, both beauty and fashion videos, and I would love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.